All right.
Meeting starting, calling the order of the City of Torrington Conservation Commission for Thursday, August 11th, 2022. Call to order at 6:35 p.m. City Hall Room 215, 140 Main Street, Torrington, Connecticut. Roll call and announcements. Present are members Dan McGinnis, myself, Thomas Kalinowski, Michael Caneb, Stephen Ivane, and Nate Nardi-Stires, Assistant City Planner. Moving on to the minutes, July 21st, 2022, regular meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes from last month?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. All opposed? All right, seeing none, motion carries. 4, new business. A, fall cleanup planning / prep, September 17th through the 18th. I'll give you this back. So you have some notes on it.
All right. Yeah, so the fall cleanup is coming up. I had kind of thought it was going to be the weekend of September 17th or the 18th. I wasn't sure what day it's usually done, but it looks like there's a concurrent Save the Sound cleanup that happens at the same time. And again, you guys have all been involved in this fall cleanup before. This is my first cleanup through the city, so you all know more than I do probably about how this is all coordinated. And luckily I have Jeremy, so he knows if I can lean on him a little bit. But I guess, as I was saying, the concurrent Save the Sound cleanup, which is done through Save the Sound, they're coordinating Center Subaru volunteers to clean up Co-Park. But I guess it's my understanding that we send out, people come and then we just send them to different spots in the city based on reports. I guess Jeremy says that once we post the flyer, reports start rolling into our office and we kind of can prioritize sites that way. But I saw the list of all the maps, and Jeremy said that that's something that Christine usually does. I'm not quite sure what she does with the maps.
Gardner.
Yeah, with the I don't know if it's that she modifies the maps based on what comments we have.
Last cleanup on Earth Day,
Mhm.
we met at Co-Park for 8 a.m. and there we had a printout of maps as well as general directions on how to get to those locations. And Jeremy had prioritized them based on traffic areas, and we sort of split them up for areas that were appropriate for families or areas that were appropriate to be taken on, the single person versus groups. So is that what you're referring to, the little printout?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because I found the file of all of those. And I guess I can ask Jeremy, but I'm not sure. Did you just do that in the field? Kind of.
Yes, we had a table and we had them all spread out. A lot of people picked their own based on their own neighborhoods, but if they weren't sure, we would just hand them out based on what was considered high need, which is typically around the interstates and high traffic areas, a lot of trash in those areas. Obviously not appropriate for kids to be out in those areas, but we can send them to
residential streets.
I was gonna say Torrington High School campus, but now that's under construction. So that we can send any of the park locations, and then the adults we can send anywhere we choose, really.
Right. I saw from a past stuff that Rista had done that, down in the senior center, there'd been cleanup there. I don't know if that was like in the river area, but that seems kind of maybe difficult for folks to get down into. But that's another location. So yeah, I'll just print those maps out.
I just had a group 2 weekends ago did that.
Oh, really? Okay.
From the senior center down the river. It's fairly clean right now,
Okay.
believe it or not. So, I don't think we could probably pick another location.
Okay.
The Sue Grossman walkway might be one.
Yeah.
I guess it gets your volunteers out to different walking paths too and parks. So it's kind of it could be a dual purpose to clean these public areas and get people out there doing it.
And then we supply them with the gloves and trash bags.
Yeah, we also usually coordinate with a Dunkin' Donuts or a local restaurant or food place to supply lunch. I think last time we did this, Dunkin' donated coffee to us and donuts, and then Denny's donated us the pizza. I think we had a couple boxes of pizza. So they've done that for us in the past. I'm sure they'd be happy to do it for us again.
Maybe have a contest, see if some group comes up with the most trash bags or something like that. Most trash contest.
And the third dumpster too that we usually order.
Right. And Jeremy did tell me about that. He said, Ashley and I will call to set up those donations and get the dumpster on site. We can coordinate with Brett on that. So what happens? So folks go out to their sites and then they bag, and then they leave the bags.
Yeah.
And then someone comes by and picks it, and that's usually Park and Rec. that
So in
does
the
that.
past, it's been Park and Rec in the city, but they haven't done it for us in a couple of years now.
So how do we get it
So
picked up?
it's usually, if it's not me picking them up with my pickup, last year, Justin McNaught, I think his name was a volunteer. He has a landscaping company. He donated a truck and landscaping trailer to us, and that helped a lot.
Oh, nice. Okay,
So it's really, right now, it's all whoever can bring their own equipment, but
got it.
I
Okay.
know in the past, we've had the city do it, so maybe we can try to get them to help us out. Again, that'd be great.
Yeah, I have a pickup truck also, so
Yeah.
if you need an extra.
I remember one day this was a couple of years ago, we did it, and I was doing the bag pickup. And I was going all over the city all day. I think the event was over at 1:30, but I took the last garbage bag at like 5 or 6 o'clock at night.
Wow.
It was a long day.
And that was for the spring cleanup?
Yes.
Yeah, because I heard Jeremy was saying that there's more folks come to the Earth Day one, and
Yeah, well,
makes sense.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
50,
yeah.
he said usually like 50 people come to this one, and it's, over 100 for the first one, or.
Mhm.
I think the numbers have varied quite considerably.
Okay.
They've been away for both the last two.
What I could do is try to get a bank. I can probably try to get a group from the bank, because we have a new community involvement officer now. That's his main job, is to get groups together for community projects. So
Okay,
we could probably get some sort of a group for that from my employer.
yeah, that'd be great.
Which bank is that?
Thornton Savings Bank.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, Jeff
What other
Harris
bank
is
is there?
Yeah, right.
great.
Um,
Could we get like citizens call in areas they think are trashy?
That kind of happens on its own, according to Jeremy. He says like once the flyer goes out
Yeah,
and it gets posted on social media and all that stuff, the land use office is listed on there, and people just start, there's certain people that every year they like have a list and they just like, oh, this site needs it, and that usually
Okay.
fills up pretty quick. That's what Jeremy said.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but we can
Right, so
definitely
a lot of
encourage it on the flyer, like.
are they honest requests though, or are they just like their neighborhood?
I mean, what's an honest request? If it's trash, then
I've seen a lot of people who tend to go to their own neighborhoods to pick up.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make a difference to me.
Right, that's fine.
We're still getting our mission accomplished, so.
Yeah,
Trash is trash.
Right.
okay.
Okay, awesome. And so, yeah, I guess so we'll have
But
one more
are you
meeting
gonna- Are you
before
gonna clarify what date?
I'm sorry, I started, the 17th is when the Save the Sound people, so we'll do it on Saturday, the 17th, because
Okay.
that'll coordinate with them.
Yeah,
So
Yeah,
it
it's
kind of
Sunday.
needs to,
On a Sunday.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Saturday, it's really.
Oh, yeah, sorry, great.
so that works out fine. Yeah, and those folks are gonna be there from 10 to 12.
Okay.
So,
So we
as long as we're
typically-
there by
We
then,
typically meet at Cole Park to start setting up at 8.
yeah,
And then we start getting walk-ins at 8:30, 9 o'clock.
okay, so
Okay.
that works out fine.
Go park at 8. Okay,
And then I guess I'll draft up a flyer. And I'll circulate. To the group, and then, once I get an okay on it from all of you, I'll forward it to Rista and have them use all their media channels. We'll put it on the conservation website.
Sure.
I don't know how much traffic, I don't know if there's a way on our website to track traffic. There usually is.
I'll tell you that.
But I'll figure that out, because I'm curious as to how many people go on there. I did spruce it up a little bit after our last meeting, but
Okay.
Well, they send out announcements too in the city website.
yeah, it'll be better to go out that way, and I'm sure
Yeah.
we'll get a lot.
Instagram.
And we'll throw it in the glass cabinet, kind of coming into City Hall. So when you're getting ready to pay your taxes and,
So when I first started getting involved in these cleanups a long time ago, the way I heard about it was through old-fashioned yard signs that were posted
Oh,
up
yeah.
on city property.
Mhm.
And when I was doing it, we had huge turnout. This was a long time ago.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's within our budget to,
okay,
I know we talked about it after the spring cleanup last time about bringing those back, because they seem to generate a lot of
Mhm.
walk-ins. Just sort of a generic sign that we could use
Yeah.
for both events maybe. just something to think about.
Okay.
Yeah, we could create signs that you use year after year, because lawn signs aren't that expensive. They're
Yeah.
like 10, 12 bucks each. And
Right.
you could make up,
And then,
a certain
yeah,
number.
and you just put a different, you get a little, sticker.
Right, and
Go
then
over
just
the
put it
date.
over the
Yeah,
date
right, yeah,
every
we
time.
do that for the tour.
Yeah,
And we just post them up, we post maybe 8 of them, 9 of them up across the city.
Yeah.
High traffic areas,
Yeah,
anywhere
like
cars are
City
stopped.
Hall.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. My other job is running around and pulling those down,
Oh,
so,
Yeah.
but we give the pass to the city,
Yeah.
obviously,
do
but,
you take down like these political signs that?
not political.
No?
We won't do political signs, obviously, and we won't do nonprofit signs. So, but all of the business ones, all of the landscaping companies and pavers, like if those are up, well, basically we'll leave them. We've given them a grace period that like if they just paved it and there's still tape up,
Oh.
we'll leave it up for, let them
Okay.
keep it up for a week or something, but if not, everything that's in the right of way, I literally fill up the back of the truck with stuff that's just in the right of way.
Okay. Okay.
But,
Yeah.
so it's, it's the not fun part of my
There's all
job.
these reggae signs that go up where they shouldn't go up,
Yeah.
entrance ways to highways, and on bridges,
Oh,
and
yeah.
public in front of City
Someone on
Hall.
the other day.
Yeah.
The what?
On Route
Someone
8,
on Route 8, yeah.
Yeah,
can't really
it's
read
not
it
on-
on
It's like,
at that
who's-
speed.
Who's stopping on highway?
I know.
It's crazy stuff.
Yeah, so if you ever wondered what happens, I drive around, the city is in quadrants and every part of the city, I drive around, write down all the sign in compliance and pull street signs. So just in case you wanted to know if someone actually does that for their job.
That's good to know.
If you run into tour Litchfield Hill signs, you can pull those up.
I know, I drive through, I live in Harwinton and I like drive through there and I'm like, I can't take that sign. That's a different town. Okay, well, that's everything I had on this. I guess I'll circulate, if I have any other questions, I'll, circulate it on the email list, but we have one more meeting before this happens. So what I'll do is I'll just get everything kind of squared away and then we can kind of go over last minute details at the next meeting, but we should be pretty good on planning.
Okay.
Um,
It'll be
Awesome.
challenging the different political parties to clean up.
Oh, there you go. That's
Collection
good.
here, you might get a good turnout. Okay, so 5 old business, food forest, possible project locations. So I know we talked about me reaching out to Brett Simmons regarding the use of city property or city parks. I did not hear back. I CC'd Mike on the email. Did not hear back, so I don't know if there's some way you might be able to reach out. The email didn't bounce back, so I have the right email.
Yeah,
How busy he is.
so I actually, after our last meeting, I was curious as to the person who's supplying the trees. It's also Brett Leonard, the one who came and talked about the trees. I was like, when do you need to know about trees by? Because we don't have a location yet. And is it even worth doing it this fall if you already can't do it? And he pretty much said that if we had a location by this meeting, we could probably squeeze it in for the fall. But if not, we're looking at a spring.
Why don't we do it at Bowman Gardens? Up on Mountain Road. It's owned by the Heritage Land Trust. And it's maintained by,
That's where the community gardens are there.
that's where the community gardens for the senior center. Why
Yeah.
don't we do it there?
I guess, yeah, that would be up to Heritage and that, right? But I mean, I don't have any problem doing that.
Heritage is agreeable.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. If you guys are,
How
If
much
there's
space- how much space do you
space,
have
yeah.
for-
I think it would be, I don't know how many acres it is exactly, but I think there's a good chance there's enough space.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I think one of the goals was, and I'm not against it, I think one of the goals was walkability functions.
Yeah, it's not.
But we're sort of running out of options on that.
Yeah.
So that may be.
You know what's cool about you have a very active group of folks there and they could help manage the vegetation that's planted because I mean, they're there literally every day. And that's great to kind of cultivate it, look after it, water, all the things because there's a well there and, active people there all the time. So
We just have to bring the truck up.
I would think that, I
Fill
would,
your, not your, the senior center's water source up there before they got the well installed.
Oh, yeah.
So Okay,
You know, there's also the other place would probably be down by the senior center. Somewhere along the bike path. That's one.
We threw that out there, but I think that's what we want to know by Park and Rec about the mowing part, because, you know, it creates
can't move
another
forward with
obstacle
yeah.
for them, right? So,
we can't move any forward, we can't move forward with any city parks because I haven't heard back. So
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
the only option at this point might be private organizations, Heritage Land Trust, or the
Yeah,
other land trusts.
yeah.
might need to
But
get
we
involved.
can say yes to that Bellman Gardens. We
Yeah,
have
we can
3
do-
members here.
if you want to take a look at it.
Okay, yeah, then I've driven by it before too. So you were thinking in the back,
Yeah,
kind of like,
There's a trail on the back, right?
yeah, that goes through, yeah. So you'd want to put it, I mean, you'd have to look, because I don't know it that well.
yeah, okay, well, I can definitely take a look there. So basically, at this point, I can check in because I started that communication with Brett. I can see what he has as far as plans. He did say, I'm reading the email again. He said, yes, we could potentially get it in for the fall, but some of the sources that he gets it from might be booked up already. So it may be a more limited list or a limited number, but that might not be a bad idea to just
Yeah.
have it be like a pilot year with
Yeah, see what
him,
happens.
see
Yeah.
what happens, put in a handful of trees, and then, plan for something in the spring in one of the more accessible locations.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll reach out to him then. And actually in the same vein as that, because we were talking last time about having a more sustained effort, like, having a working group with Heritage and Park and Rec and potentially other local groups to try to make it more collaborative and to do more projects potentially going forward that meet that kind of community walkability need. And that might help us with some of our sustainable CT. So we're getting our sustainable CT certification, or we're working on it right now. And there's one action related to encouraging healthy and sustainable food networks. So Jeremy wanted me to float past the group, potentially working on like making a larger effort around this that involves more significant community outreach that we could obviously assist more with through the planning department as far as like organizing that. Because for our sustainable CT, we need to do certain actions that are considered like, what's the word? Like social justice, or, it's like supposed to be a more like kind of diversity community sort of process where you identify stakeholder groups, and it just that makes it a bigger thing. And that's what you need for some of your actions with CT, sustainable CT. So if you guys would be interested in doing something,
Well,
more related to healthy and sustainable food networks, like in this case, like creating a food assessment report, which is what this action requires, that could lead, that could be like essentially the groundwork and the planning needed to get this in a place that's fulfilling a community need, right? So like talking to the community, seeing which local park they want it, who's actually, is this something that they want, that kind of thing. So I guess it depends on how much time you want to dedicate to this as far as going through like this big process and trying to engage a lot of groups, or if you just want to, do small projects here and there opportunistically.
We can contact with the soup kitchen or Friendly Hands to see if they have a perspective on that. Obviously, they deal with the food insecurity directly. So
Yeah.
we can have a gauge on that.
Yeah, it would probably be groups like that we'd brainstorm and then bring them all in on a meeting with potentially Heritage and Park and Rec and see what they, get community input, and then create kind of a plan. I looked at some examples of the plans that Sustainable CT was okay with, and they're like 10 pages. It's not like a 100-page plan. It's just kind of like a
Is
roadmap.
that double space or single space?
Plenty of pictures.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I guess that's just a bigger question for the group as to how deep you want to dive into like doing a whole plan for this, and then like kind of fitting the plantings into that plan. It's a little bit of a mission creep from conservation.
How much
So
money's on the table with this?
honestly, Nothing.
Is there
This-
examples of that? I mean.
Yeah, I could
it's
share, well,
really
examples of what,
interesting possibilities.
the plan or about
Yeah,
what?
the whole community involvement and, you know, it'd be nice to
Mhm.
see what kind of examples, different areas have generated.
Mhm.
You know,
Well,
I'm
so
sure
we're-
cities would be different than rural areas and, you know, how they approach this.
Equity toolkit, that's what they call this thing. I just remembered it.
Because
So
it
Jeremy,
turns out like Bowman Gardens has a connection to Sullivan Senior Center. We just gave them a small grant from our trust
Mhm.
to,
From land trust.
because they're coming up and mowing, well, it's at at their own expense. So we're trying to,
yeah.
you know, assist there.
Yeah, this is, so what I can do is I can share with everyone. We actually did one of these full processes around the affordable housing plan. So how the city did their affordable housing plan that was just released, they well, it was just finished. Now it's going in front of P and Z to review, and then they'll recommend it to council. So the report itself is kind of been looked at internally and is going to the boards now for what?
Has it been released?
I don't know. I don't know if it's been released. It's one of these things, it has to be done. It's like all the towns are doing them. So,
Oh, is that state requirement now? Is
Mhm.
that has to
Yeah.
blend in with the zoning requirement changes?
yeah, so they're gonna review it for consistency with the plan of conservation
Yeah.
and development. That's like the next step with planning and zoning.
Okay.
So anyway, I can share, Jeremy's doing a write-up as to like how that was an equity process for that, how different stakeholder groups were brought in and ultimately how it created the product. And that's like an example. So I could share that with you, and it's already focused at Torrington.
Mhm.
He's not quite finished with that write-up yet, but I'll share it with this group and you can take a look at it and see kind of the type of process. It won't have to be as robust as a citywide affordable housing plan, but you know, the elements that they're looking for as far as community input and all of that.
Regarding the food forest, something just popped in my head, because we were talking about affordable housing, and I think I might have brought this up last meeting. I don't remember the conversation we had about it, but Penrose coming in,
Mhm.
do you think they might be able to set aside a certain piece of property there for us? Because that's centrally located, and it's also supporting 60 households that are low income or potentially low
Yeah.
income.
Isn't it a tight lot though?
Yeah, that's my thought.
Planning it right now, I don't know, I'd have
Where
to,
is it?
Franklin Street.
It's
Oh,
the
that one,
development
okay.
right on the water.
Yeah, Russell
yeah.
Sawyer's.
I mean, the other challenge there is we can't really dig into the ground when it's contaminated.
Yeah.
Only partially
Yeah.
And I know they're finishing up on that
Wastewater.
project, so I don't, like, obviously landscaping's not in yet. I feel like with that, it's like, you could maybe ask them if they could select something that's edible as one of the landscaping trees voluntarily at this
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
I might be able to get in contact with
But
one of the lead developers there, to see if they'd even allow us to do something. But then again, the city actually owns the land.
it's so complicated. I think it would probably come into, yeah, fitting it into the landscaping plan, I think, just because I think there's so little space. And honestly, with food stuff, if the trees are overhanging the parking lot, like,
Yeah.
it's not gonna, no one's gonna want that. No one's gonna want the spot underneath the apple tree. Or walnut tree or
Well, I
whatever.
know they're gonna have space to put a playscape and a walking trail there, so I assume they're gonna have some sort
Right,
of recreation area there.
right. I mean, and maybe, I mean, just in the vein of food forests, you know, maybe they'd be able to put in something like blueberries or a bush or something like, you know, use edible native landscaping. Again, I
Yeah,
don't,
bushes rather than trees.
yeah, right. And then that way they can kind of tuck them in to places and, you know, there just have to be some outreach to people that like what you can eat and what you can't.
Yeah, because the developers were involved with us. And they reached out to Inland Wetlands to invite them to the groundbreaking. I think they reached out to all the city departments actually, but. So I have a contact information for some of the lead developers there, and I can shoot my shot and see what'll happen. I mean, They say
Right.
no, they say
Yeah.
no. If they say we don't have the space, we don't have the space.
But the, like, example, I volunteered in the Knox group in Hartford. So they have dozens of acres of lots that were abandoned, and the Knox group would come and cultivate that property. So, you know, some high-rise buildings taken down, they would have 1 or 2 acres there in Middle City, and they would, you know, basically dig it up and put in topsoil and make it all viable. And they would parse it out to city residents. They would have like a lottery system, and if you consistently farmed it, you got to keep it forever. So they you know, give you little parcels, so it was like a victory garden of sorts. And these same folks would bring their crops to the local farmers market, and it's all these cultures. And there's, you know, 100 different cultures. It's the most exotic to a farmers market. Because, you know, people from West Indies are growing stuff you will have never seen in your life. And that is like a food staple from where they're coming from. And it makes it very interesting. So they're giving you menus with what they're selling. Makes it very interesting. Those same folks, you know, they hang around, they make little huts, and they're playing cards when it rains out between gardening sessions or something. So it's like a whole community thing going on there. And those same people you could have, you know, growing you know, the berry bushes and taking care of our fruit trees that we plant too, I'm sure. You
One of
know.
the neighbors down the street from me is actually growing a rice field in her front yard.
That
Very
sounds,
small front yard. I don't know how she's able to pull it off.
Oh, yeah, that's on Pearl Street?
Yeah,
I think she was down at South End once, I remember.
so she's flooding it.
I don't know. It looks like rice to me. I
It
could be
it is
wrong.
quite the garden, you
Yeah.
know, it's intense.
Yeah.
Every inch is taken up.
Okay, well, that gives me some places to start. So, I mean, I think with the getting to the Penrose thing, I know that project has so much into it right now, and I just don't, I can talk to Jeremy about it a little bit. I think that, like, yeah, shrubs, edible shrubs might be kind of a nice little touch. And if I don't know how that works with their funding, like, to get them, you know, if we can get these free plants in there, because it's, you know, it's got that connection. I just don't know if it's like the 11th hour to make those kind of changes. But what I can do is I can follow up with Brett, who has the plants, and see if, I think the 2 things on his list that I saw that would be compatible would be hazelnuts and blueberries. And they're they're special low blueberries. So, you know, if we could kind of like tuck a few of those into the landscaping plan, if we could get them for free and they're just willing to dedicate the space to them, that could be kind of a nice little outcome. And, you know, might meet everyone's purposes, but that all depends on him having it, and it depends on whatever money transfer is taking place. If we're allowed to kind of, you know, give them essentially free plantings that might be substituting other, you know, their other landscaping plan. I just have to talk to Jeremy about it. I
Yeah,
haven't
I'll
been
wait to
involved
hear
with
from
it
him.
and all. Okay. Okay. Well, that's all I had for that. So yeah, I'll talk to Brett, and you know, it seems like we might have a pilot location. So if he has plants available for that, at the very least, I'll go take a look at the site on Mountain Road, and maybe I try to identify some places we can put some stuff based on what he has. Some of the stuff he has are like chestnut trees, which are like massive, you know, like some of the stuff you plant, you're talking about kind of a significant dedication of space to actually grow it.
That field
So
that's to the left of the gazebo up there, is that also part of the property, or is that a neighbor's property? There's a large field. No, you're
Yeah,
up there
the
with us.
large field is the neighbor's property.
Okay.
Yeah,
But what you see is mowed
Yeah.
is the land
yeah,
trust.
so it's all whatever's mowed.
whatever's mowed.
But you
Okay.
still have a perimeter there, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could put it along the edge. I mean, I don't
Yeah.
know, having a chestnut tree is kind of a commitment, because you have these like spiny, sharp things that are going to be falling from the sky. So it takes a while for them to establish. But anyway, I think the next step is just seeing what he has, and he might not have anything, and we might have to table this all until next year. So we'll take
Any
it.
special species to be able to grow here now? Because it was a blight 100 years ago, right?
Yeah, I think they're crosses. They're like, they may be entirely Chinese chestnuts,
Okay.
or they're American Chinese cross. But I think it's the Chinese that are the low ones that people mostly cultivate anyway. Like when I say low, I think that like American ones grow to be like 100 feet tall, and these ones grow to like 60. So they're still big trees, you know, that's still, and they sprawl, they spread outward. So I do think that it's some kind of blight resistant
Yeah.
cultivar.
So it'll live a long time. because
Yeah,
You
yeah.
get these little scrubby chestnuts, but they don't live 10 years.
Right, those are the American ones. These would be the like, yeah, some kind of. I mean, he seems to know what he's talking about with some of these varieties. So, and then the blueberries are, they're a special cross too. So I don't know if he does this stuff himself. Like what, you know, it seems like it's a passion project for him. But anyway, I'll follow up and I'll let everyone know.
Okay.
I see on the agenda. Yeah.
Item B, natural resources inventory web map.
Yeah, I guess the only thing I have to report on that is that I got that license. I told you that there was a license to get the software. It's $50. We had that money in our budget, so thankfully, so I have a license and I can start working on that. What I'd like from you all on that is that I just came here and I have access to Jeremy, but if you know of any data, plans, reports, things that have to do with natural resources, because essentially this is building a repository for everything that we know, like specific to Torrington. So if you want to just send me an email, like think about it, what you know exists. I'll talk to Jeremy about it. I know there's like an urban forest, like there's an urban street inventory.
DEP has a bunch of stuff.
And yeah, right. I'll be accessing that. It's like the DEP, like the stuff that they
HVA.
have. Yeah, and HVA I'll follow up with. I know they have a lot of specific data for the region, but things like, yeah, I thought I saw there was a street tree inventory. I don't know. I haven't looked into it too much. But anyway, just think about it. And if you have any suggestions or things you maybe remember and you want me to look into.
The conservation, check out the conservation. They may have
Okay.
Northwest Conservation. And the Cobb, of course.
Mhm. Okay, yeah, I'll definitely be using their trails. Next is the,
Item C, open space parcel inventory and data collection progress.
no progress on that table. That we'll have that
Fall time.
discussion,
You said fall time.
yeah,
Yeah.
fall. And so if we talk about it at the September meeting, if that's okay with everyone,
That's fine.
it's been getting pushed to the back burner.
So all that info in the city records, I mean, land trust properties versus parks, and
Yeah,
we have 35 parks. And
Mhm.
so that's already in the city database as you need it for that map.
yeah, that's my understanding is that, I mean, I've looked at it with Dave in engineering who does the GIS, and I think that maybe there's some inaccuracies. It's like, oh, with these things, it's always like there's little details. And so what it'll probably come down to is us all looking at those maps at the end and being like, wait, I thought that parcel was in, or like, you know, the land trust just acquires a new parcel and, you know, go add that, right? So we'll have to probably do that kind of review on the maps. I've already seen a couple things that I was questioning or wanted to have defined better as far as categories for conservation. Things like the water company lands, right? They're not like technically conserved, but they're on the map because, you know, there's they have to conserve them to some degree for water quality. So anyway, it's complicated, but eventually that'll end with us all looking at that map and just making sure that, you know, to our knowledge, everything seems pretty good. So yeah, there'll be that map, and then there'll be our field work as well that we'll work on. So we can plan those two aspects of it next meeting.
All right, item D, Conservation Commission website page edits and cleanup.
Yeah, so I don't remember what happened at the last, if I reported on that in the last meeting, but I added my information and all of the other, I kind of updated the links that we had talked about that had been broken. So if any of you have comments on that or want things added, just let me know, but I have access to get into the website now, so I can make changes as they need it. I did a couple, I like embedded a video in there that we had a link for before, in one of the tabs, so, that was my only quasi fancy thing I did in there. But yeah, just let me know, look it over.
Number 6, communications A, social media.
So that was just a question from me, just knowing, have you worked through the city to do promotion of things through social media? Have you ever had a discussion of having your own web page or, I mean, your own social media account or anything like that?
Well, I'm new to the commission here, so
I don't remember that.
Okay.
I know there were some different brochures that were published in the
Right.
past.
Right, for like stream health, like like if you own a stream and you want to clean it up, what do you have to know regulatory wise for inland wetlands? That was the only one that was on the website.
I think we ever had a discussion about having a specific page for conservation.
Okay. Well, just a thought. I mean, I think for now, I would probably just any kind of communications we want to have go through Resta and,
Yeah.
what they're doing through their outreach.
Yeah, I would stick with that.
Okay. I kind of agree in that case, like,
Like a social media policy.
Yeah.
right, I don't want to dig into this too much and then get lost,
Yeah.
especially if no one is like,
No.
wants to take the lead on it.
It could consume a lot of time.
Yeah.
Unless you have a real strong
Much more
volunteer.
benefit.
Yeah, that's all I had.
Anything else?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm good.
All right, moving on to item number 7, adjournment.
So moved.
All right, do I have a second? All right. Any opposed? Carries 7:12
Have
PM.
you ever heard anybody who opposes?
All right, thanks, Mike. We'll be shutting down the meeting. All right.
Unless he's mute.
Yeah.